y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you're using Excel, you won't have to do this. We'll just have to click, do a few clicks, and then get your right. When you ask Excel for the equation of the graph, it will give you also the slope, since it will be y is equal to mx plus c. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that my question is answered. But then, okay, so let's say I draw my graph, right?
Yes.
Yeah, should I show the calculation of the slope, or I should just take the slope from Excel? Since I'm looking at the marks, it will be like 16 marks. So I want to know whether I should like also show the manual calculation of the slope, or I should just extract it from Excel.
You can write if you want, mostly because it's effortless work, right? So you can, I think you can even write it there. Since also you're saying that you're considering the marks, right? Are we fine? Okay, I assume you are. So now I'm going to stop sharing my my screen, because Excel is the only thing that needed me to share. I understand question 2 will also need you to do some plots, but first let me just go and talk about something on question 3, right? Okay, let me just share the whiteboard. Tell me when you can see it. Tell me if you can, tell me if you can't. Can you see it?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
All right, so the reason I want to talk about the Hazop study now, right, is because you can easily get 4 out of 20 or 3 out of 20 for Hazop, right? When you just go there and try to just be smart and fill the unnecessary information without maybe thinking about it, or just being vague or something, right? So they gave you the table, right? Tell me, right? The table that you have there, you guys, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did they feel anything just besides the topics? Because that only your diagram here of the thing that you need to do the other study of. So if they give you any other info besides the topics like study note, equipment, blah, 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 did they give you anything else besides that? No. Somebody say something. Somebody. Nobody's home. All right. Okay, I'll just continue the talking then. For example, right? Let's just discuss this a bit. So you've got tank A and tank B, right? Tank A and tank B, right? And some pipes between tank A and tank B, right? So if you've got this particular tank and the piping between this particular tank and the other tank, right? I know it doesn't make sense, the diagram that I'm drawing, but it's fine as long as you get the picture. So let's say you do have this kind of setup, and then you're trying to identify your study nodes, right? Your study nodes will be what? Your tank A, the piping between them, and your tank B, which means at most here you're looking at 3 study nodes, right? Yes, you're looking at 3. And then from those, you can have different process variables you choose. Maybe for tank A and tank B, you can choose to go maybe with the pressure, temperature, volume, anything, right? Or even flows, right? So the main idea that I'm trying to share is not what process variables you should choose, but it is what deviation of those process variables you should choose, right? You can go and choose maybe something like temperature and say one of your deviations is reverse, right? What is reverse temperature, right? You know, with your analysis, it can only be high or less. I mean, or low, for example. Maybe you choose correct or different English words to say if it's not high, it's just more, and the other one is just less, right? So you can choose to go with any of these, high, low, or more and less, but just keep it consistent, right? So let's say for temperature, you go and choose less and more. Say this is your only deviations, right? On one, you choose less. I mean, you're good more on the other, and then less. And this is only about the temperature, for example. And then now you have to come up with causes, right? So your causes should also be something that makes sense, right? Because that's how you're gonna be assessed on this thing. It's not the kind of information you put, but it's how your information correlate, right? You might find that with the kind of information you're putting, you're even teaching your lecturer something, right? Something that maybe you did not think about or somebody did not think about because your information is correlating. That's why I said creativity here is just allowed because it's just the process. But because they've also given you the diagram, right? The diagram should also tell you what study knowledge you're gonna be doing, right? If you can look at your tank A there, right? You see there's hot water, right? You see there's hot water there. So they are the process variables you can choose for study A, right? I mean, for equipment A, tank A, right? You do have your level transmitters and level control system and also temperature control system. So it tells you exactly what process variables you're gonna be learning about, you're gonna be doing about. But from where I see it, I only see two, right? Those are the process variables that you're trying to control there. I only see two, right? And let's say maybe, for example, you do have got temperature, right? The reason why temperature could be low could be what? Low supply of hot water, for example. The reason why it could be high, it could be what? More supply of hot water, for example. So you see that by just using the diagram, you get to exactly where you want to be. Are we fine? And then that's why you can also have the other process variable. So already on the piping, you see the stuff they are trying to measure there on the piping, right? The stuff they're trying to control there on the piping. That's exactly the process variable you are going to use for that particular section or